So this is my few minutes a day in protest to war and contemplating peace out loud and not being willing to just get on with life and look away and act like millions of people are not being murdered in Syria, because every time an airstrike is sent from the UK government or from the French government or from the US government, hundreds of civilians at a time are being murdered, and they're treated as a cost of doing business in terms of the military empire right now, and I don't find that acceptable anymore. I feel like our governments are in there to steal Syria. That's what it comes down to. They're using the story of getting rid of Bashir, changing regimes. That didn't work. Then have been funding insurgents. That's evidenced. And training insurgents and setting up their own insurgent groups. Every man and his dog who wants to steal Syria is setting up their own insurgent group that is terrorizing the people of Syria, obviously, and then coming back to terrorize us on local soil. And those attacks in Germany that happened today. Germany has been obviously a partner in the war, but after the Paris attacks, Merkel sent in 1,200 troops. 1,200 German troops, just to be passive, apparently, and just be in a support role. Not sure what that means. Support role against fighting ISIS. I don't know why they need to go to Syria to be in a support role. Maybe they supply food to the insurgents. Maybe they're cooks for the insurgents who go off to fight Daesh. I'm not sure, but anyway, 1,200 troops, German troops, who were sent to Syria. Then these attacks have happened this week, and the same time 400 German troops are moving to the border of Syria in Ankara, and along with deflective missiles and a conversation in The Guardian about Obama and one of the other leaders fearing that Bashir is going to use chemical weapons on someone. It wasn't really clear in this article. They're all concerned about Bashir using chemical weapons. What I'm concerned about is that a chemical weapon attack suddenly happens in Ankara. It's seen as a formal act of aggression. It's blamed on Bashir, and suddenly the Allied forces have legal reason to go and directly fight Bashir and transfer their story again from fighting the insurgents, of which they are known to finance, to fighting Bashir, because what they're there for is to gain control of the resources. Their insurgent groups can do that. They can take an oil field and suddenly they're selling oil, and well, who's taking that money? But they want control of that country. They're doing it. They've done it one after the other in the Middle East. It's like a game of dominoes. And they don't get to win this war unless Bashir is gone and they put in a proxy alliance government that does what they want, gives them the resources as they want, etc., etc., and they get to rebuild the country and control it, and they own that territory then. So they're stealing Syria off Syrians. That's what they're doing. That's our governments. That's our taxpayers' money. Syria is Syrians. The benefit of the resources should be for the benefit of Syrians, not the benefit of us. Sorry, that sounds very fair and not very greedy, but it's true. And, how do we stop our governments thinking they can keep raping and pillaging every country they want to in the world by making up the story of the leader as a dictator and a boogeyman and very, very bad, when Syria probably treated women the best out of all the Middle Eastern countries. Because that's number one most important thing. And they had a very stable economy. That was a beautiful country and a beautiful people, and our governments have gone in and destroyed it. Airstrikes, financing insurgents, it's an empire building regime. So what concerns me, let's go back to the attacks that are happening. What concerns me about the attacks that are happening in Germany is that this is the provocation to take the passive existence of German troops on the border of Syria, maybe even in Syria, but not directly involved in the combat, to a legal, preparing for a legal rationale to go and fight Daesh, or if this chemical weapon threat is used against someone somewhere and they can blame it on Bashir, then they've got a legal rationale to go and take out Bashir and really sort of seize control of the country with their own troops. So I feel like we know that the Munich attack was set up because the same photographer was at Nice and Munich, and that's just not possible. And he's got intelligence agency links with Israel, and who are obviously also part of this clique. Because if all of these countries fall systematically, then who in the Middle East is the allied nation that will take control of the Middle East, like a European Union type situation, but one that's been forced militarily? That's going to be Israel. So they're totally in there involved with this. And these you know, and I mean, I guess I have to just add in there my position on the conflict that is sought with these attacks. Yes, it's a provocation to make the civil unrest so fierce that everyone agrees with the military force being used to go into Syria to kill Daesh. But that is going in to kill millions more, possibly millions more civilians, you know? Imagine bombs dropping on your head. Imagine German soldiers invading your country. And how do you know who's an insurgent or not? So many more innocent lives are going to be killed unless these alliance countries withdraw from Syria. They stop financing insurgents. They stop fighting Bashir. They support the existing nation-state government to get rid of the final insurgents, and they leave Syria to Syrians so that we can have a world of peace. Because once Syria is finished, their taste for war, it's another country following. Is it Lebanon? We don't know. There's something else going to happen. But unless there is a trigger that holds them accountable, and that's another point I want to make. I just keep thinking, who is holding them accountable? Absolutely no one. A bomb is dropped on a hospital. Well, that's like against every possible international law, surely. But what happens? No one's held accountable. Oops, it's a blunder. Oops, no, it's not. It's mass murder. The person responsible, the commander-in-chief, should go to jail. But our political class is above the law. They set their own rules. Life has no value, you know. And so that's why I do these videos now. For my one or two friends who might bother to listen. You know, we should be every day loudly speaking out against our governments aggressing other nations, and all of their profit benefits from aggressing those other nations should be dissolved. You know, I mean, there has to be new laws that govern these wars, because the laws that exist right now are totally out of date. And these attacks in France and Germany, I'm sorry, either you can justify them as we are bombing people to death in Syria and they want revenge. But you know what? The attack on the press was an Algerian guy. The attacks in Germany were a whole range of people. It's not directly related, but it just evolves that anger of the people and that kind of blind rage to get rid of Daesh, this enemy that has totally been created in order to allow this empire building, stealing of countries game that our political class pollies are governing us with now, and leading us towards a permanent destruction of any sort of peace and security that we could hope for the future. Okay, that's it for today. Enough said. Ciao.